welcome. I'm Yashika Foster, affectionately known as the Artist of Dating. I empower successful women to date through self-discovery while finding the love or their life partner and being able to have the strength or the tools to do it all. And today we are talking about how we pick our partners. So when you are out here dating, a lot of times we will do the same thing over and over again, which means that it seems that you have that friend, or even if you are that friend, that it seems like every partner you have always have something about them in common, right? It's always that guy who maybe you pick the guy who loves his mom and he's a mama's boy, or you pick the guy who doesn't want to do anything more in life, or the guy who's abusive in some kind of way, like whatever it is, or even the guy that's successful or that's career driven. It seems like every time you pick a guy or your gal or whatever, guy, because I'm talking to women, are always the same person but in a different body. Right? You ever had that? You seem like you pick the same person always, but just in a different body. And so what that means is you have to really think about your relationship pattern. How is it that your relationship pattern, or the way you see relationships, what's going on within you to say, okay, why do I always seem to pick the same person? And some things to remember when I talk about relationship patterns is, one, who you pick. Is this person that you're picking always the person that is this way or that way? He's controlling or she's controlling, or or abusive in some kind of way, or whatever. Who do you pick and why? And this is why I help women through self-discovery, because if you really understand who you are and what you need and what you deserve, then you will know that you deserve better than someone who is controlling or abusive, right? So that's first. Think about, when it comes to you picking your partners, if you're picking a person or who you pick. The second part of that is how you interact with that person. If you tend to be a person that and I'm just going to use an abusive person. Now, this doesn't have to necessarily mean verbal abuse, physical abuse, or mental abuse. Just an abusive person in any kind of way, shape, or form. How do you interact with that person? If you are a person that seems to be where you want people to dictate to you, or you want people to, this is how you understand love, is when someone's constantly doing to you this way, then you can kind of get an idea of who you are or what type of people you always pick, right? Based on how you interact with them. So if you have a person that you seem to always pick people who are abusive, inside of you, there's something that tells you that you only deserve this type of person. And so if you feel that you only deserve this type of person, then you're going to always pick the person or the people who are abusive. And again, they're going to be the same person in a different body. And then the third thing is, how do you allow them to treat you? How do you allow them to treat you? So it's, who do you pick? How do you interact with them? And how do you allow them to treat you? And this goes to the type of relationship patterns that you may have, right? When you think about those three areas, who do you pick, how you allow them to treat you, and how you interact with them. Are you a caregiver? A caregiver is a person who always seems to want to take care of everything. You're the person, whether you are in a relationship or a friendship or even a co-working position, or you're at work, you're the person who always want to make sure everyone is good. So when it comes to relationships, you may be the person that says, well, I need to make sure that they eat. So I'm going to go in here and order food or cook food because I need to make sure that they eat. You are the caregiver. If you're the person who, when you're going out with your friends, you're the person that always makes sure that everyone has a ride home, more than likely you are the caregiver. And if that particular trait no longer works for you, then you have to dig down inside of yourself and really change some things, because sometimes it's okay for you to allow other people to take care of you. Okay? An alpha. If you are the person who take charge of everything, if there's a decision that has to be made, you don't ask anybody else, you make the decision. In fact, an alpha person will more or less believe that unless you are involved with something, that everything else will fail because you believe that you are the end all be all in everything. So that includes your relationships, that includes your work environment as well as your friendships with your friends. You are always the person that has to take charge, and you always have to give an opinion. You always have to make a decision, right? Because you believe that everybody else can't do it or they're not going to do it as good as you are, right? So if that's the person you are, then recognize that you are that person. And if there's something that's not working for you anymore, you might want to change it. And then there's the parent. The parent is the person that is always taking care of everybody and giving the advice. And, oh yeah, by the way, I want to make sure that you are healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? That's more or less the parent. Like, you're the person who you're trying to make sure that everybody else is good. And this is different from the caregiver. The caregiver is gentle with theirs. The parent is more of a parent. Like, they're more of more of an not authoritative figure. They're more of I would say authoritative figure. So think about how your parent is, right? Your parent is a caregiver, but then there's times when your parent acts like your parent, and there's times when they act like the caregiver. And this is the same way it is when you talk about relationships. When you are the parent, you are the one who is trying to make sure that everybody is fed, everybody gets home safe, everybody brought their coat because you don't want them to catch a cold. You want to make sure that everybody is doing everything they're supposed to do. That is you as the parent. And if you are that person in a relationship, no matter what type of relationship it is, a work relationship, a friendship, or a romantic relationship, if you are that person that's the parent, then that's some things that if this no longer working for you, you might want to change it. Me personally, now this is just me personally, Coach Yashika. The last thing I want to do is raise another person. That is the last thing I want to do. So for me, being a parent doesn't work. And when you think about it, if you're out here listening to this video, think about that. Is that something that you want to carry on a burden for you forever? Because if you start off that way, then things are always going to be that way. And when you want someone to see about you or look after you, no one's going to do it because they always think that you got it because you're the parent. You make sure everybody has what they need and everything is the way it's supposed to be, right? So if that's no longer working for you, then think about why you are the way you are and make some changes. And then, of course, that's that person that's codependent. The codependent person is the one that cannot make up a decision whatsoever. They need someone else to tell them what's the next thing to be done. They need someone else to tell them what they're going to have for dinner. They need someone else to tell them everything about any decision that's dependent upon their life, right? That's the codependent, okay? Now, that person is easily manipulated by the alpha in terms of who's who. A codependent person is easily manipulated by the alpha, okay? And if codependency in a relationship, regardless of the type of relationship, is no longer working for you, then maybe you need to do some things to change it, right? Because listen, you want to be able, especially when you start getting a certain age, you want to be able to make your own decisions. You want to be able to know what's best for you in your life. And you don't need anyone else telling you what they think or making you do things that they want to do. Because remember, they're going to always put what's best for them in that decision-making factor, okay? And then, of course, you have the pushover. This person is similar to the person who is codependent, but this person doesn't have a voice at all, which means that everything anyone says to you, anyone does to you, you are going to be okay with everything because you are a pushover, right? Someone says, no, we're not going to have steaks for dinner. We're going to have shrimp. You say, okay. This isn't like the person who is a codependent. A codependent will say, well, what do you think I should have? Right? That's how they codependent. But a pushover is another person tells you, we will have this. Those are the difference. That's the difference between a codependent and someone that's a pushover. So if you are a pushover and that particular relationship pattern is no longer working for you, then think about why you are the way you are and make some changes. Now, if it's suiting you and you like it, then hey, rock on. But if you feel that at some point in your life, there are some things that need to change in the way you are picking your partners because of your continuous relationship patterns, and now you're looking at it like, this is no longer serving me, then you need to evaluate what type of person you are. If you are a caregiver, an alpha, a pushover, codependent, or a parent. Okay. And then on top of that, you need to consider, how are you picking your people? How do you interact with people? And how do you allow people to treat you? Because see, here's the thing. At every point in our lives, we realize that there are some things that we want differently than what we wanted before. For example, I am a 40-something-year-old woman, right? 40-something-year-old woman. The things that I tolerated or the things that I desired in my 20s are not going to be the same things that I desire now in my 40s. And then vice versa. There are some things that in my 40s that I'm just all for that I necessarily was not for in my 20s. And I can honestly tell you that in my 20s, I was probably more of an alpha or a parent, right? Because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. I thought I was supposed to do those things. I thought I was supposed to be the one that made the decisions regarding everything in my relationships, at work, and when it came to, just even friendships or whatever. My opinion had to be heard, and I wasn't going to budge on a lot of things, and I was especially like that. I was especially an alpha in my relationship, right? But then now, when I hit my 30s and my 40s, I realized that no longer works for me. That no longer works for me. I don't want to carry the burden of every decision that needs to be made in the family or in the relationship. I don't want to be the person that carries that, right? I'm okay with being an alpha one day, a codependent another day, a caregiver one day, and a parent another day. Like, I am okay with that. Hell, sometimes I'm probably even a pushover because I don't want to make a decision at all. Like, whatever you want, that's what we're going to do. So there are days when I do all roles, but I think that now at this point in my life, I am definitely more of a codependent person with a little bit of alpha traits and also a caregiver. I think I'm more of a caregiver than anything else, but I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know which part of me it shows. I know what part of me is showing. I know when to be the caregiver. I know when to be the parent. I know when to be the alpha person, and I know when to be the codependent, and I know when to be the pushover, because I have gone through enough experiences in life to know that I don't need to show up the same way all the time with everything, right? I realized that. This is something that I did not realize when I was in my 20s, right? But now that I'm older and I understand life a little bit better, I know that there is a time and place for everything. And it's the same thing when it comes to my relationship. I want that person to be all the things. I don't want them to take charge of me and be the alpha all the time. Sometimes I want them to be the caregiver. I might just want to be pampered that day or a damsel in distress. Okay. And then there are days where I want them to doggone just be a pushover. Maybe it's my birthday and I want them to just let me have whatever I want to have or whatever. Maybe I'm going through some things and they just want me to have my way, whatever. I need my partner to do the same thing. And I think that this part is where we really start to figure out, or we discover who we are and what we want. And this is all done when you just go through the self-discovery of life, right? The self-discovery of life. Because every aspect of your life, there's something more you want. When I was in my 20s, I was okay with a 2-bedroom house or a 2-bedroom apartment. Now that I'm in my 40s with kids, and kids will have kids eventually, I don't want that anymore because there are different needs in my life now, right? I'm okay with a higher mortgage versus when I was younger, right? Because we live and we evolve. We evolve. We realize that we want some things differently than what we wanted before. And so I tell you these things so that you can just be aware. This is not to say that if you are this way, you need to change. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's not if you are this way, you need to change. Whatever works for you. But you have to just recognize that you are doing it knowingly. So if you are a pushover, be a pushover and know that you're being a pushover. If you are being codependent, be codependent and know that you're being codependent. Same thing with caregiver and parenting and all other things, right? Know what you're doing, because you don't want to look back and say, well, dang, this person, I always pick these people, and I realize that they're not working for me. This is no longer serving me, and you keep doing the same thing over and over again. So you have to be aware of who you are in dating, and this is the self-discovery part. So you can realize exactly what you want, what type of partner you need, and just what you need in your life for you can feel just happy. Like that's what it's about, right? Just being happy, right? Okay. So I hope that this video can help someone out there. And if you have any questions, be sure to reach out to me at Coach Shika at onemore-step.com. And you can also put a DM at the end of this video or whatever. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.